You know, I've been bow hunting for almost 50 years, and a lot of things have changed in 50 years. Boy, the equipment has sure changed, but there's also some things that haven't changed either. And one of the things that haven't changed is the discussion about whether or not to have a quiver attached to your bow and whether to hunt or shoot with a quiver attached to your bow with the arrows in it. And it comes up on social media all the time. I see it on the archery sites and so forth, and there's usually a pretty spirited discussion about attaching a quiver to your bow and shooting it with that way, or taking it off, or whatever. And usually there's a whole cacophony of people that just say it's personal preference, it's just personal preference. And actually, I kind of disagree with that. I think it's more than personal preference. I think it has a lot more to do with the type of hunting you do and the style of hunting that you do. And I want to go into that a little bit. And I guess you could say that there's three different ways to hunt with archery equipment and have your arrows available to you. I mean, you could just hunt with one arrow. It's actually fairly uncommon to need a backup shot, but when it happens, you really need it. And the three, I would say, are shooting with a quiver attached to your bow with the arrows in it, or using a detachable quiver that you'd take off and hang beside you in a tree stand or put beside you in a ground blind. And the other one would be to have arrows on your back or on a hip quiver or something of that nature, so they're available to reach and put a second arrow on the bow. So let's talk about them. And the first one is shooting with a quiver attached to your bow. And this is the method that I use and I've always used, and I got a lot of reasons why I like to use it. And I just wanted to say that things have changed a lot with the new introduction of the Matthews gridlock system. This is a new V3X, and as you can see, it is really, really narrow. And what they've done is they've moved the ability to put the sight from the side of the bow right into the middle of the bow, and it balances your bow out much more, but it also gives you the opportunity to compress the width of the bow and get this quiver with your arrows right up against the bow. So when you're holding it out at arm's length and looking through it, you can see that it's much more balanced than it's ever been before. So for people like me that like to shoot with a quiver on the bow, this is a huge advantage. And if you like to have a quiver on your bow but take it off for the shot, a lot of people like to shoot with a bare bow, and I understand that. And some people feel that they're a much better shot because of that. You've got the issue if it's windy, then you got less wind drag and stuff like that. So there are some advantages to shooting with a bare bow, with a quiver off your bow. But if you're exclusively a tree stand hunter or a ground blind hunter, then the option of having a detachable quiver where you can just unhook it and hang it in your tree or put it in the ground blind beside you, that's a good option for that type of hunting. But if you're calling elk or maybe spot and stalk mule deer or whitetails or pronghorn or something like that, these are things that I do from time to time, and it's just not a good option to have to take that quiver off your bow to shoot. And if you have to get yourself in a position where you're going to shoot with the quiver on when you normally don't, it's going to affect your shot, number one. And number two, there's going to be a lot more noise, and that animal's going to hear the noise before the arrow gets there. So the detachable type quivers can make more noise than these that we have right here, right now, with the new Matthews. So if you're exclusively a ground blind or tree stand hunter, then it's a good option to have a detachable quiver. But if you're, let's say you're calling elk, and an elk comes in, or you're spotting and stalk a whitetail, then just think about how much more of three things that it takes. You've got movement to detach that quiver, you've got noise that it's going to make, and number three, it takes you time to do it. Sometimes these shots can be really, really quick, and you just don't, I mean, literally it could cost you the shot, it could cost you the opportunity of a lifetime. So that's a situation where you want your quiver attached to your bow, or you want it on your hip or your back or whatever. So those are just some things to think about. This is my personal preference plus the way I like to hunt, and it's just a good fit for me to shoot with the quiver attached to my bow. It's just really simple. I'm not reaching around back here or whatever fumbling for an arrow. It's right here. I can get it on with a minimum of time and a minimum of movement, and that's the reason that I like to shoot with a quiver attached to my bow. And with the new Schaefer Air sight that fits in the gridlock, this is the sweetest system that I've ever come across, and I'm pretty excited about continuing to use it for the remainder of this year. So I'd love to have you be involved in this discussion. You might have some ideas that I didn't cover in this, or you might agree or disagree with me, so please, leave a discussion below, hit the like button, and thank you for helping me grow the channel by watching this video. I hope it helped you.